Welcome to the Morally Gray Girlies podcast, where we explore the morally gray, spicy, smutty, dark, and dirty themes, characters, and more in our favorite reads. We're grown-ups most of the time, talking about smutty things, so please check your surroundings and make sure no little ears are within listening distance, or your boss. While we explore a lot of topics and ideas, we do not necessarily condone them all. As always, please check the trigger warnings for each book that we cover to protect your mental health, and please remember that we should only be as kinky as our partners allow. Hey guys, welcome back to Morally Gray Girlies podcast. Today I'm here with guest co-host, bookish content creator, Allie from Bookish with Allie, to talk about what is probably Shantel Tessier's darkest book in the Lord series to date, and probably one of my absolute favorites because red flags only. That is The Sinner. Let's get into it and get deeper than Ellington's trauma. Okay.
Heck yeah, guys.
I mean, we have a lot to unpack here, right? But let's start with the infamous chapter 2, where that famous line that broke the bookish internet, aka Goodreads, and really caused what I think is like a divide in the dark romance community. That is the quote that is from Sin, and it says, "One with no voice can't say no."
Yes.
Yeah.
This one, it was a little interesting when I first read it. This was my, third dark romance book. I read Haunting Adeline, and then The Ritual, and then this one.
Okay, so we had the same book journey. We literally had the same book journey. We just don't.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, starting with Haunting Adeline, we have a lot of, CNC and NC just happening in there. And so kind of, it didn't take me necessarily by surprise, but having it so early in the book, like literally chapter 2, that really did surprise me, because I feel like I would have been a little bit more okay with it if we had this is what I'm into, like, I'm okay with this kind of conversation beforehand. Although I actually reread it right before this, and I think she definitely tried to make it a little bit better with the like, but you wouldn't tell me no, would you? And Ellie's like, right. Yeah, I wouldn't.
She's like,
I'm like, it's a little
I guess. Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. It was definitely giving like the gun scene from Haunting Adeline.
Yes.
That was like the first thing that I noticed. And it's clearly something that like the FMC shouldn't want, but like what most readers couldn't get past is that, like you said, like we don't get Ellie's point of view. So it's more open to interpretation of whether or not it was CNC versus assault. So I think that is totally a valid question. What I think is like most shocking though is like you said, again, like coming off of The Ritual and going into this, it was like, it was like night and day.
So different. Different.
Like she came out of the gate with the dark romance, because in The Ritual, I'm not going to lie, like coming out of Haunting Adeline, and I had read Hunting afterwards. I'm not sure if you had,
I read it after The Ritual, but even going from Haunting to The Ritual, I was like, okay, this is a little bit more tame.
Yeah, exactly. So The Ritual, I was kind of like, oh, like coming out of Hunting Adeline, I was expecting a little bit darker, to be honest, because of what I had heard from the series and like other dark romance readers. So, I mean, I love The Ritual for like what it was, but this is when people said you need to read the Lord series, like it is a dark romance series, like this is what I expected. So I was here for it. Like I ate that shit up.
Yeah, exactly. I sat there and like, I mean, going through the trigger warnings to start with, I kind of knew what to expect. Like I read all of the trigger warnings before I start, just so that I kind of know what to expect as I'm going through.
Going blind.
Yeah, I was like, because I went in blind to Haunting Adeline and learned my lesson. Yeah. I was like, oh, this cover is so cute. Like I was expecting, I don't know, like mafia romance, something along the lines of that. I was like, okay, maybe some murder. And then reading it, never mind. Yeah, but I definitely agree. I think that The Sinner is arguably one of the darkest ones that I've read, just because of how much it goes into and how much detail there is on everything.
No, I completely agree. I had an episode back in February, I think, and it was like pitch black romance. And, we really touched on well, what is dark romance and what is basically just like horror or like psychological thriller that has like a romantic element to it, or like not even, you know, because there's some where it's like I wouldn't even categorize that. Oh, my cat's saying hello. Where
So
I
cute.
would have been, I know, this is Zuri. Hi, Zuri.
Oh, hi.
But you know, there's books out there that I wouldn't even categorize as a dark romance, but this is one where like I can still say, okay, this is dark romance, even though the darkness definitely creeps more into their romantic dynamic and into the plot. But we'll get into that.
Yes.
But, you know, going back to sort of like that quote and her setting us up, I mean, I think that's really what dark romance is, right? Like this genre really just makes you question like how far is too far with your own limitations and boundaries. And when it comes to like sexual elements, like even in a fictional setting, like where does the fantasy stop for you? So
because for me specifically, at least while I'm reading dark romance, I'm kind of envisioning myself as the FMC. Absolutely. And so I'm like, okay, I'm envisioning, like I'm reading this as if everything's happening to me. Yeah. So like while I'm going through it, I'm like, okay, that's hot. I could get behind that. Right. And then, I mean, there's other things that I'm like, not my cup of tea, but probably someone else's.
Exactly. Yeah. No, blonde FMC. No, that's me.
Yeah, exactly. Blonde. Come on, guys. Don't I look blonde? Yeah. Where does this kind of fall on the dark romance scale for you as a dark romance book? And then also, we kind of touched on it, but in comparison to the rest of the books in the series as well. Yeah, no. So like I said, like when I first read this book, I was like, oh my God, like this makes Haunting Adeline kind of look like Child's Play a little bit. No knock to H.G. Carlton. Like I still love that book as a series. I mean, you never forget your first, right? Never. So I love the cat and mouse duology, but I mean, this is my first dark romance read where I really saw the dark themes creep into the relationship dynamic between Sin and Ellie. And I just remember too, like, having emotional whiplash because a lot of times like we're getting like dual POV, like we can kind of see what the MMC is getting into and like what his end game is. And we didn't really get a lot of that from Sin. Like she did a really good job like foreshadowing. So there were times where even I was like, Ellie girl, like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, is he really just a piece of shit? Like literally, is he really doing all of this? Like, there's gotta be like, I was begging for an explanation by the time that it came. I was like, oh my God, I don't know if I can like handle any more like emotional like twists and turns, but exactly. I mean, you have Ellie's trauma, like basically she's been abused her whole life since she was a child by everybody in her life, including like her mother and, you know, really like through her relationship with Sin. And, you know, going back to that episode I was talking about, it was like, is dark romance, you know, when the plot is dark and there's like the romantic dynamic, or is it when you have darkness in both the relationship dynamic and within the plot? So I think, you know, this book is still extremely high on the list for me, but it is definitely one of those that has like both. I think the decisions and actions that Sin made in the relationship are like brutal at times. And kind of sad. I was crying there at a couple points. I mean, he kills her stepfather in chapter 2. I know. like we're not even into the book yet. I don't even know her name barely. And boom, dead. Like immediate. And it was like an interesting dynamic too between the characters because, you know, again, with Riot, like you kind of have like the traditional route that the Lords go where they go through their initiation, you know, they get their chosen, and then obviously kind of unfold from there. But like Sin was playing by a different set of rules from the get. The rules never applied to him. No. He literally sat there and said, you know what? My choosing ceremony, I'm not even going to go. You can have her. I'm like, you guys have fun. Like, what? Riot, if Riot would have skipped his choosing ceremony, the book's over. Everything's done.
Yeah, no, Riot was definitely more of a like play by the rules kind of guy, which is like hilarious because like there are no rules. But I mean, and I think that almost is what makes Sin, like, dare I say, like my favorite Lord, because like he was just on a whole new level. And it almost, I say almost, it almost ruined the rest of the series for me, because I will say that I think he was the darkest out of all of the MMCs.
Yeah.
And you know, the Spade brothers were supposed to be like these big tough guys who like were like,
I know,
like, everyone's afraid of them. And I was like, no, but Sin did worse. Like,
it's like when I read Madness when it came out last year, I want to say, or maybe the beginning of this year, whenever it came out, I read it and I was like, I was expecting like pitch black from Hayden.
Yeah.
And I did not get that.
We got fluffy golden retriever from Hayden.
I know. And by
Which
the
was
way
great.
he was described, I was like, oh, this is going to be like pitch black, super dark. And then I read it. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Did not even compare.
Yeah. No, I think she truly outdid herself with this book. It's it almost feels like, and this is like just speculation, so don't come for me, like readers, but my perception is that I feel that she probably was like, oh, how can I make this darker coming off of the ritual? And then she wrote The Sinner. And then because of the reaction from a lot of readers, probably like pulled it back a little bit. Yeah. So
I thought the same thing.
Exactly. She went from like one extreme to the other and then was like, ooh, like I gotta pull back a little bit. So that's what it felt like.
Yeah. Yeah, because then we have Tyson who comes in after The Sinner, and I was like, okay, love Tyson, but nah, like it just didn't. It didn't do the same for me.
Tyson is like the responsible like daddy of the group.
Yes.
You know,
like he's the one who Sin's gonna call to clean up his mess.
Exactly. Like he's the mature, like level-headed one, which is like hilarious. Like
scary to say.
You know, but I totally feel that. Like I think that, you know, none of them look as outwardly like glaringly toxic as Sin after he was introduced to the series. Like he just really just set the bar.
Yeah.
But
then I also sit there and then I'm like, on the flip side, I also feel like Ellie's a little bit of like a kind of unreliable narrator in a way, just because of everything that she's been through. And I'm like, okay, girl, you have been groomed since you were 8 years old. Like the way you look, the way you act, what you like in the bedroom, everything has been groomed since you were young. And so it's like, how much of what you're saying and what you're kind of going through can I actually like rely on in a way?
Yeah. And you know what? Also, like to that point, it's hear me out.
Yes.
The physical acts that Saint took upon himself to impose on Ellie were for his own pleasure. But a lot of the mental stuff, most of the mental stuff, because we get his point of view and he kind of has like, you know, where he kind of pours his heart into the letter and kind of explains everything. And we finally put everything together. Like the mental stuff really came from like the trials of the lords and like them wanting to keep them apart, but him trying to find ways to like make it happen where they could end up together. Now, I mean, you could argue in real life that like, you know, if you're not good for somebody or, you know, like love them and let them go type of thing. But like, no, like fight for this love. Like we are in dark romantic, like fiction, and I want you to fight for that love till the death. So I can appreciate that.
And you know what? If it didn't end up in like a little cute happily ever after, I would honestly be more angry. I'm like, I need the happily ever after with dark romance books, at least a majority of the ones that I've read, because if I'm not getting that, they don't even end up together. Like, what's the point? Just a bunch of trauma.
Exactly. You go through all of that just for like trauma and heartbreak, and it's like, no,
literally,
that's not where I was.
Not happening. Not happening.
Yeah, and like you said, like with Ellie's trauma and her being an unreliable narrator, like I also think that, you know, the lords want the women to be equally as mentally tough and capable of taking orders as everybody else. And they knew, and a lot of them did take part in the trauma that they imposed on her from a young age. So, I mean, in addition to those obstacles, like she was subjected to even more like emotional trauma because they don't make it easy for you to be the wife of a lord. Like it is one thing to be a, so we hear, you know, but it is one thing to be a wife. So
yeah, the funny thing, I'm like, I always hear in the books and stuff, they're like, oh, it's miserable being like the wife of a lord. And then we have like Ashton and all of them, and they're so happy. And the guys are like devoted. And I'm like, is it really that bad to be the wife of a lord?
Listen, I would go through that for the devotion that these men show them for their women.
Yep.
So.
I was like, you're killing for her. You're protecting her. You're like, are you kidding? Love.
Yeah, you want to tie me up in a fun house and like, you know, do naughty things in front of your friends and then marry me? Like, go for it.
Sign me up. I'll sign the waiver. Let's go do it.
Yes.
I'm like literally anytime I go to like a county fair or anything now, that's all I'm gonna be thinking of.
Allie's running through the haunted house, like, but where's
I'm like, are they following me? And they're all looking at me like, no, we're not following you. This is our job. Dang it. Go around the next corner.
Well, speaking of haunted house scenes. Yeah. Speaking of haunted house scenes, how do you think the smut in this book compared to the books in the rest of the series?
Honestly, I ate this one up. I thought it was so hot. Honestly, I prefer when they're a little bit overly descriptive versus not descriptive enough and kind of like skipping scenes, like not necessarily skipping, but just not as descriptive with it. I loved this one.
Yeah.
I will eat up a pierced MMC, pierced FMC any day. Any day.
Yes.
I'm like, give me a pierced anyone. That book is next on the TBR.
If anybody listening has a Jacob's Ladder or has ever been the Jacob's Ladder, we would love to hear about it in the comments.
Yes, slide in the DMs. I need to know what that's like. It's just for research, guys. Promise.
Research purposes only.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I noticed about Riot's book, and kind of in the Lord series to begin with, in general, is that they don't love going down on their women. So I don't know how
that's true
about that. That is the one thing I will say is that I've noticed, and I guess that's just Shantel Tessier's like preference about it, right? Because like I can see that like some people are just like, oh, I don't like writing those scenes. So maybe she's just one of the, because I know girls who are just like not into that, and like that's totally fine. You know, it's like you could, or like again, maybe she's just like, oh, I don't know how I feel about writing it. Like, you know. It's something though. And
because definitely guys going down on girls is so different to write than like face fucking. Can I say that? I don't know if I can say that.
You can totally say that. This is a safe space for face fucking.
Exactly. So I'm like, you know, him going down on a girl is definitely going to be different than like face fucking, drool, hair up, like totally different scene type of thing. So I'm like, I actually kind of get it. Because I guess in that situation, I would also opt toward going down on him. I feel like in like a dark romance situation, him going down on me, I feel like that is so like such a vulnerable position. Not that sex isn't vulnerable in general, but like that specifically to me is like really vulnerable.
That's a good point. And that kind of brings up kind of like where my mind was going is it might not even be a preference thing for her writing style. It might just be like the nature of these guys and kind of like how they're written and like, you know, while yes, they kneel for their women, you know, like, and they're one and only, but like, let's not forget who we're messing with. Like these guys are like ruthless. They're like born a certain way. They are still rich, entitled men who are playing a totally different game and just kind of like get their way. Like, that's not to say I'm still not disappointed because I feel like Sin should have been the one to be like going down on Ellie, and I wanted like a thesis level description of what was going on in that scenario, because it just would have been like so hot. But
exactly.
Anyway,
I'm like, man, I could talk about them giving head for hours.
yeah, no, and like, you know, I think that the erotica itself was so taboo that it's like in this book specifically, like I didn't really miss it because there was just so much other stuff going on, and they did have so many like, hello, Zuri. They did have so many like other sexy moments. So I think it was really well done. But like it was also so dark, like the car scene where, you know, he's like, oh, is this what you need? Like it is very much CNC, if you want to call it that.
And that, I mean, that flashback while they were in the car before they headed to the woods, that flashback, I was flabbergasted when it was her stepdad, and Link, and then I want to say Chance was there too, like the 5 of them, had jaw dropped. I had no idea what was going on during that scene. That was insane to me.
Yeah, and you know, it's a choice, and I'm sure this is something that dark romance writers struggle with all the time. It is a choice to put a scene like that and then like have like a smut scene like right after, because it's like, oh my, again, it's kind of like that emotional whiplash, like you're going basically from like the trauma to kind of like the undoing of the trauma in a sick way.
Because I mean, like, at least going through the trauma and kind of seeing what she went through and like getting some of that, like, it's one thing to like have her talk about it, but to actually get a flashback scene and kind of experience it ourselves, it definitely touched more so on what she was going through and kind of gave, I mean, us a baseline. Like, okay, that's one of hundreds of instances. And so it's like, if that's only one time and she went through this for years, that's just a testament to, oh my gosh, we have no idea what this girl has been through and why she likes what she does.
And I think it also added to sort of like the uninhibited, like raw emotion between Ellie and Sin, because as fucked up as they are, like you cannot deny that like he loves her and is literally willing to do anything. Like he went into Carnage and was ready to just like be a prisoner, which is like the worst thing that you can be in this world.
No, literally.
Is like a prisoner to the Spade brothers. And you know, like you just can't deny the true love is really there. They just, I mean, they're perfect for each other. They're twisted in their own ways, and it just works.
It's like when Sin found out about the pictures of her and what had been happening to her, he went feral. And I love when a man goes feral. He went immediately into like protect mode, and I love that. That was, ate that up.
What would you say your favorite smut scene in the book was?
Oh, that's hard. I want to say probably when they were at the carnival, like House of Mirrors, and then ended up going on the roller coaster afterwards. I feel like that is just something that I personally would want to experience. So that's probably why it's my favorite.
Take me on a ride.
Will it ever happen? Probably not, but never know.
No, that
I'm
was
like, you know, I think that like just adding that like thriller aspect and having the adrenaline of it and everything, I would eat that up. But that's also why I eat up being chased through the woods. So I'm like, I think that any of those with adrenaline.
Allie, you're exposing your kink.
Oh, my bad, guys. As if my page,
new kink unlocked.
Scroll on my page, it's brat kink, praise kink, and I'm like, yeah.
Sign me up.
Sign me up for all of them, guys.
No, totally. I think my favorite scene following that, because like who doesn't love a haunted house scene? I mean, so hot. My favorite scene was probably honestly when they got back to Sin's house and he like let her be on top for the first time, which was like a like going back to like that vulnerable position where like he's so used to being in control and he was like, no, you. And it was like one of the few like rare sweet like moments that we have between them. And that was for me where like I was like, okay, like he really like loves her, you know, and not just because of that, but also because of like the dialogue and everything else that was like adding into that scene. You know, I mean, it was just pure for them. Yeah. And I was like, okay. And I think that scene was why I was so shook when everything else unfolded afterwards, when he was like, oh, I'm engaged to...
Broke my heart.
Yeah, like now I'm engaged to, what was her name? God, I can't remember.
I want to say it started with a K, maybe.
Yeah.
I also don't remember her name. She was irrelevant to me.
His chosen. So he was engaged to his chosen, and then the video came out, and Ellie was like, what the hell is going on? And we as readers were like, what the hell is going on? Because it's
literally, I was sitting there and I was like, if you tell me that this entire book was a lie, I'm going to freak out. I'm going to lose it.
Yeah, and it was honestly the one dark romance book where you're like, oh my God, did he cheat on her? And you're like, dude.
He better like, not have.
Listen, you could tie a chain around her throat and throw her off the back of the boat, but if you touched or even looked at another woman, like...
Done.
Yeah.
I'm like, I like how that's where we draw the line. It's like,
yes, absolutely.
Okay, guns, knives, for sure, go crazy. Chains, whips, wild. But
brand me in a haunted house. Absolutely not.
Like the minute you touch someone else, not happening, my guy. Well, that is the one thing that I will say about these guys, though. They are loyal.
I think that, you know, that's something that's totally misunderstood about what is so like drawing about these characters, like why are we so drawn to these like characters? And it's not just because like, yeah, they're supposed to be like hot and sexy and this and that, and they're so masculine. Like, yeah, they're masculine, but not for the reasons that people think, like not traditional societal false narratives about what masculinity is, right? Like, because if you ask anybody, they'd be like, oh, you like him because he's strong, he's tall, he's hot, he's got tattoos, he rides a bike, he likes danger, he knows how to fuck, like, you know, all of these like surface level characteristics, basically, like, you know. And then if you want to get into like real world stuff, it's like, oh, being masculine means being a player and having options and doing this. And it's like, no, like if you want to like dial down like what true masculinity is, it's like wanting to be a provider and like wanting to be loyal to one person, and like, you know, being strong means being vulnerable in love and in situations. And these guys are supposed to be like the toughest guys on the planet. What is their one weakness? They're woman. They're one woman. They're one woman. These guys can literally like bang anybody that they want. They choose their one woman because they know the value of that. And that is what true masculinity is. And I think that's why so many female readers eat this shit up, because like we understand that whatever society has taught us masculinity is not true. And what like we're redefining it in our writing, you know, and in our reading. So
exactly. No, I think that these characters are so complex. Like I want to say that in comparison to like some other dark romances that I've read that are, I guess, not as mainstream, these characters are super complex. They are like, they have an entire narrative, a whole backstory that goes super in depth on that. And in comparison to the guys that we're seeing just out in the wild, I'm like out in the wild as I'm still dating, I'm single. So like out in the wild, the guys that
drop a comment if you'd like to take Allie on a date to a house.
Exactly. But it's like, if you compare these guys to the ones that we're dating, I mean, they're expecting me to plan a date. Whereas, are you kidding me? Would I ever plan a date with Sin or Riot? Never. Never. I'm like, these men they want to be providers, but then they also aim to make their woman happy. They, at least most of them, include her in decision-making processes. It's like sometimes include her in decision-making processes, but then he wants her to come. He wants her to enjoy sex. He like it's not just about him. Whereas I feel like some of the other lords that we don't get to meet, don't really get to see, that's how they operate, where it's just about them. That's all they care about. And then these guys, they just aren't like that, which I think is exactly what we love, is because they're in tune with the woman, but then also in tune with her body and their emotional maturity.
Yeah. And that's, it's funny because it's like, it's what makes it fiction, but it's also what makes it realistic. It's like, because not every guy is going to be that, right? Like that's just
exactly
the nature of it. But men, like, come on, these are like literally manuals of like how to have like, you know, a happy relationship, or at least like, you know, if you want to attract a partner who is, you know, a strong woman or just like is into this and you want to be a better partner, like, you know, like these are the things. I'm not saying, well, please don't throw her off the back of the boat or like.
It's like they take our advice seriously and they're like breaking in with a gun and they're like,
this at all.
Well, they told me to. No, we are not telling you to do that.
Absolutely not. Don't do that. But I mean, as far as just being like, you can be strong and be vulnerable, and like that is true masculinity, right? Like strong, vulnerable, loyal, like all of those characteristics. And it's like, you know, I think that is also why we read these books, because, you know, it gives us hope that like those characters actually like exist. But it's also giving us a world to escape into. And so many times, like, you know, I've interviewed cover models, I've interviewed, you know, authors, and people have watched the podcast and they're like, why are you so into these books? Like, why don't you just go find that? And it's like, if, you know, like if this is what people were taught, again, not going back to like darker stuff. don't teach them that. Don't stalk anybody, please. But you know, if people were taught that, like, no, this is what masculinity looks like, and this is what we should be like striving for, and not just like, you know, doom scrolling and on TikTok and like being, you know, just like emotionally unavailable, like to people, like, treating them like they're nothing.
Yes.
You know? That, or just like, it's not cool to not care. And I think that is like, you know, something that people have like kind of gone into. If more people, especially men, were reading these books and they understood that and they were more receptive to that idea. Because I think there's also this idea that like, you know, romance isn't sexy. And it's like, because a lot of times it's not only, well, why don't you go find that? And it's like, huh, bro, like, trust me, I'm trying. But it's also like, oh, you're only reading these books because of the smut. Like, it's just porn. Like, what's the difference between that and porn? And I'm like, this is what makes it different from porn. I'm telling you right here. Like, this is what makes it different, you know?
It's like, if you watch porn, sure, porn's great, whatever. But when you watch it, is there a dialogue? No. Is the man caring for the woman? No. Is there like any sort of vulnerability, anything behind it?
Any sort of real love story, character development, like,
exactly.
You know, exactly. So
hence why we opt for books and not porn. I just like, the way that I think about it is men are visual, porn visual, women, we need the rest of that. We need the vulnerability. We need the words. We need the sweet actions and stuff like that sometimes. So like books, they give that. Porn, never get that.
Right. Or you get, you know, you get the naysayers who are like, oh, they don't know what they're like romance books. Like, oh, that's weird. Or like, that's not sexy. And it's like, I think there's also this false narrative that like, again, like romance isn't sexy. And it's like, no, like you can look at these characters who are happily in love. Like, I know we're kind of going off on a tangent away from sort of the dark stuff, but it's like you have these characters, this love story of like people who are like madly in love and like their sex is so hot. Like that is very easily achievable. Like, why is there this idea that romance isn't sexy, or that, you know, you can't have hot, passionate, kinky, fulfilling sex in this like long-term sort of dynamic where you're also emotionally available? Like that just makes it even better, you know?
Kind of seeing that absolute devotion, absolute obsession from these guys. I mean, I've just never seen that from a guy. And so it's kind of like, I want that. And so that's why I become like so obsessed. The yearning, the obsession,
Yeah.
It's like, give it to me.
Yeah, no, and that's totally valid. Like, bring back yearning, bring back devotion.
Exactly.
Like,
Where
bring
is
that
the
back.
yearning?
Like, that is sexy. Like, that is hot. That is what people want, you know? And let's not forget that. So like, thank you, dark romance authors. Thank you, Shantel, Tessier, and all of the other romance authors who are out there, especially like our indie authors, for doing God's work.
Yes.
Reminding women of like the stand, like, no, this is what we strive for, you know? And of course, like, there's a reasonable bar for that because nobody's going to be perfect. But I think at bare minimum, you should be able to get, you know, the emotional and physical satisfaction that you want out of a partner, especially when it comes to like trust, security, loyalty, you know, like it goes both ways. So yeah.
Okay. Like now that we have completely gone off topic. So where does Sin kind of fall on your dark romance book boyfriends ranking kind of overall, or does even make your list? And then kind of compare it to the rest of the lords.
Yeah. So, I mean, me again, fictional land. I love a walking red flag. I love a walking
You and me both.
I was like, he is so sexy. Like,
yes,
everything he did, like, nah, he did that for a reason. He's redeemed in my eyes. So
like chapter 2, sophomore year, he was yearning for years for her.
Yes, absolutely. And just like the letter and oh my God, everything that he did. So to back up, I think that when the truth finally came out about what Sin was up to, and we figured out like, oh, he was doing this because people didn't want him to be with Ellie. They were manipulating the both of them. They were putting basically both of them in danger. Like, he was getting shit done. He did what he had to do to make the relationship work and to protect her simultaneously, even though it didn't look like that on the outside. So like, I have so much respect for him. Also, I love him popping up in the rest of the series, just always being the reliable guy who's like, you know, whose car are we taking? Like, let's go fuck shit up. Like, oh, your girl got taken? Like, bro, I remember when that happened to me. Like, I got you, you know? Like, he's just like a reliable, strong, like, masculine man. And he did everything that he did. Like, it was justifiable to me to save Ellie because, like, his heartbreaking letter, him sacrificing himself to the Spade brothers to save her father, like, he definitely earned his place on my book boyfriend list. And after reading the entire series, I mean, thus far, because we know Chaotic is coming out, hopefully this like coming year. I know I will absolutely die. He still ranks on my top 3 lords, and honestly, might be my number 1. I mean, I love Hayden, but they're just so polar opposite. Like, Hayden, he makes Hayden look like a cinnamon roll. Like, if we're talking like, I know, dark, like morally black, like MMCs, like, he is probably number 1.
Yeah. For me, I want to say Sin is number 1 for me. Followed very, very closely by Saint. Very closely.
We need to talk about Saint. We need to talk about Saint. I love Saint. I love Saint. Ashton ruined him for me. She
drives me crazy.
Like, he was a little bit of a pushover. Like, I was a little disappointed, especially with how he was acting in Madness. Like, that ruined it even more for me. Like, I could have been okay at the end of Carnage. But Ashton's behavior and just like the way she walked all over him in Madness and just like disrespected their relationship, I was not okay with that. And I was like, no, that was crazy. Yeah, like Saint. And then even started to like kind of infringe on Hayden and Charlotte's. I was like, girl, you gotta take a step back. Yeah. We're sisters. Like, no, I will end your life if you look at my man. Literally. I was like, girl, you've already been with him. Let someone else come. Like, you literally are married to your soulmate. Like, go be with your husband. Like, I'm very confused as to, So Saint deserved better. But like I said, like, he probably would have been my number 1 if he didn't kind of let Ashton walk all over him in Madness. Like, that really ruined it for me. Yep. Because I want to say, like, Saint was so high up there for me just because I
do like a little sharing action. That's nice.
I mean, I also like the dynamic him and Ashton are like originally had, where like he was in her room and like she knew he was like she was gonna be like his wife, and like it was just I was all about that. And like the second half of the book, I was just like, I mean, even the strip club scene, I was like, oh, this is so hot. This is so hot.
I thought the same thing.
I could have been okay with the ending of Carnage, but everything that Madness like trudged up, I was just like, oh no, like what are we doing to Saint? Like he looks kind of like a little bitch.
Yes. Yes. Like, and then we see Sin come in during Madness as well, and I was like, oh, homeboy's here. I've been waiting for you to come back.
Yes.
And then he's asking all the questions about like, oh, but you're not staying at Carnage? He's like, don't worry, I won't say anything. I love this for you, Saint. And I think that the connection between his book and the rest of the books, where he's kind of that like confidant for a lot of people in a way, I want to say that also comes from him keeping it from Ellie. It like kind of at the end there, where he didn't tell anyone. He did it all by himself. Nobody knew. And so I feel like he kind of became that confidant in other books because everyone was like, okay, well, you did it for yourself. You're probably going to keep my secret too.
Yeah, like Sin became like a trustworthy character amongst the rest of the lords because he was willing to do what needed to get done in order for like whatever the next best course of action was. Like we need to save somebody, it's done. Like we need to end somebody, it's done. Like, you know, like he had it. Like he was he was just like a solid friend, a solid boyfriend, a solid provider. Like he is just a reliable character. So we love him. And I think we're just going to have to do a part 2 to this with another Lord series book.
Because, we definitely will.
Well, there you have it, girlies. We'd love to hear your thoughts on The Sinner and the Lord series if you have read it. And if you are a dark romance reader who's not taken a trip to the cathedral yet, we highly recommend that you do. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to @MorallyGreyGirlies Pod for more bookish content and episodes. And be sure to also follow our new friend Allie at Bookish with Allie. And we'll see you next time.
Awesome.